Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Healthcare Connector, where we're all about amplifying the voices of women and people of color within health and wellness. I am so excited today to have Rose-Stella on the call. Been following her for a while on social media, so it's finally time for us to get together and meet each other virtually, face to face. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, all of that good stuff.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Rose-Stella Pierre-Louis. I am Haitian American, and by trade, I'm an occupational therapist. I'm also a mother, and I run two private practices. My first private practice is as an occupational therapist for kids with special needs and their parents. And the pre-pandemic, I had a center. I was running early intervention therapy in home, and I was also doing school-based and clinic-based care with other therapists as well. And so right now I've had to shift that into the virtual world in terms of supporting parents with kids with special needs. And then my second private practice is working as a transformation coach for other first generation women who want to open up their own practices as well.
I love it. So we got a lot to talk about here. So I would like to tell the audience what the journey to becoming an occupational therapist is about in case someone is interested in it.
Yes. So when I started in undergrad, growing up and starting in undergrad, I was going the pre-med track. My parents wanted me to become a doctor. As a first generation daughter, like it's either doctor, lawyer, engineer. So I was going to become a doctor. I knew I wanted to be in healthcare. And so in undergrad, I was going the pre-med route. I was majoring in biology, but I had shadowed my godmother, who was a pediatrician. And I remember thinking I wanted to do something different in healthcare. I wanted to have more connection with my patients. And so I started exploring and shadowing other people in healthcare. I started looking at rehabilitation, and I looked in speech therapy. I looked at physical therapy. And then I found this thing called occupational therapy. I had not even heard about it. And I shadowed an occupational therapist, and he was absolutely amazing. He was doing an activity session with a child, and all the activities he was choosing, he was working on specific parts of the brain to help the child develop in their development and do rehabilitation. So as soon as I saw that, I said, I need to do that. I want to have fun every day. I want to be engaged with seeing my patients weekly to have that personal connection. And I want to be able to see that progress. So that's what piqued my interest. And then the journey to actually becoming an occupational therapist. Right now, you have to get a master's degree to do that. So I finished up my bio undergrad, and then I went for my master's in occupational therapy.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad to have you on. I think you might be the first occupational therapist, and I don't know if you were like me. Yeah, right. The first one, got it. But when I was growing up, and this is probably also because I didn't have an opportunity to be exposed to it. When I was thinking about healthcare, I thought you either had to be a nurse or a medical doctor. Like there was no in between or other avenues for me. It's just I just so happened to be in school and run across something else to that could do. Did you know early on about all the different roles, or was it just after you had been, in undergrad and doing that pre-med that you came upon these other types of things that you can do?
Like you, I did not. I only knew doctor and nurse, and those were it.
Yeah, right.
It really was. I mean, I must have been 20. I think I was like 19, 20 when I actually started going into, I was volunteering at a hospital, and I asked if I could shadow the different professions there. And that is when I learned about therapy and anesthesiologists and nurse practitioners. I mean, I learned all these different fields, and I was thinking to myself, like, They should be teaching this to high school students.
Yes.
The range of healthcare professions, and then you can pick one that matches your personality, because there truly are so many, and there aren't enough of us in those fields. So
Exactly. That's why we're here.
Yes.
So you knew you were going to go in healthcare. Did you always know, because you have your own practice, so did you always know that you were going to add entrepreneurship, business owner onto that as too? Because again, I always ask this question. They don't teach us about business when we're pre-med or when we're biology or those science degrees.
No, I didn't. I did not. Growing up, my parents, my dad was a doctor, my mom was a nurse, and they would work double shifts at hospitals. They were not entrepreneurs. They worked really, really hard. So my motto was them. Again, it wasn't until I got older and I happened to shadow my godmother who was a pediatrician, and she had her own private practice. And I'll never forget that day. Like, I remember I met with her. I went to go meet her at her office, and she walked into her office and she was greeting her patients and their parents, and they were all, saying hi to her. And I remember her going to talk to the receptionist and going to talk to the office manager and the medical assistant. And I didn't know the titles at the time, but I remember thinking, this is amazing. She gets to go to work when she wants to.
What she wants to.
And then she gets to do what she loves. And whenever she wants to, that for me was a game changer. And till this day, I still have that imprinted in my head. And when I went to go, when the seed was planted and when I was thinking about opening my private practice, of course, I was scared. Like, how do you do it? How do you start a business? But that kept going in my mind. Like, she did it. Others are doing it. There's a need, especially for us, to be doing it.
Yes.
And so yeah, that was how it was in my case. I didn't know until older, and then I just couldn't stop. Like, it was just
What has the journey in owning your own business been like? Or can you tell us about a lesson that you've had to learn?
Yes. So I think the biggest lesson would be when I was shifting from being an employee to a business owner.
Yes.
The work is so different. The mindset is so different. So, the one that comes to mind is like making mistakes and trial and error. Like, we usually associate that with being bad. Like, if you make a mistake, that's a failure. Meanwhile, in entrepreneurship, that's the journey. The journey literally is trial and error, and then trial and error, and trial and error, and then trial some more. Like, that's
right.
And then there's always something, a different opportunity, a different experience that comes out of that trial and error. And it comes from that, being able to be creative and being able to have that confidence in yourself to say, no, I'm going to keep trying, which is very different from when you're an employee. You master your skills. You are wonderful at what you do. You give it 100% to 10%, and you do it perfectly every time. So that was a very big, and even now I still struggle with, no, this is part of it. It's a learning experience. Like, I learned something, and I have more value to it now. It's not necessarily a tangible thing, like when you're an employee and you have your documentation and you have something to quantify your success. The entrepreneur experience is different in that say the success looks different.
And that's scary, especially for those of us that have been employees before, high performing women who are used to, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to master it, I'm going to get it perfect, and then I put it out to the world. But like you just said, that doesn't work in entrepreneurship, because you got to get out there and just really put it out there and see what works. So how were you able to, like, push past that scariness and that fear and just do it?
That is a really good question.
I'm throwing them out there.
I think what happens is the drive and the excitement to try was so much bigger than the fears. It's
Ooh,
because the
yes.
fears still exist.
Mm-hmm.
The fears still exist, but that excitement of, oh my gosh, I'm able to help someone. I'm able to help a parent with this piece of information. I'm able to help them learn more before they walk into an IEP meeting. I'm able to help a woman transform so that she could, show up big in her business.
Mm-hmm.
That excitement is much louder than the insecurities and the fear that comes up of failure. So
I love it. You're right too, because it's like you got it's what you just said. That excitement has to be bigger than the fear to kind of drown it out and not keep you from being stuck in whatever situation you're in. I want to hear now about the coaching program, the transformational coach. So tell us about that. What's it called? What are the services? All of that.
sure. I'm really excited about it. So it is called the Stellar Transformation Entrepreneur Experience. And
Mm-hmm.
my focus is on purpose-driven first-generation women to help them prioritize themselves. And the reason I did it this way is because when we start becoming entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to get lost in it and sort of give all of ourselves into the business. And what happens is the entrepreneur experience actually is a way for us to learn how to take care of ourselves and to prioritize ourselves. It's an opportunity for us to shift that idea of, work is the focus of your life, and shifting it into your life being the center of your life, and then your work, right? So,
Yeah.
so what I love about this is that I'm able to use that entrepreneur experience to help her prioritize herself, get rid of those limiting beliefs that we were just talking about, like those fears and, I gotta be perfect. No, you gotta release all of that. And then also addressing those stress responses, because we're so wired to go and be perfect. You have to move and be different as an entrepreneur. You have to be measured and centered and be unswayed by all the changes or the setbacks that happen, right? And then at the same time, you're trailblazing. You were generational healing. Like that's a
Yeah.
big deal. So I love to provide the space for that to happen for her. I love to see that transformation because it's different for every woman, but that is what the program is that I offer. And then I also have a group coaching for women who are like high in their professions, just killing it, but then are not taking care of themselves, like just have no idea how how to self-care. Like they know how to do everything else, but they don't know how to self-care. So I
I
have
have to look into that one.
you
Look, no,
understand?
but what? Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like I said, I got to look into it myself. But I think what you said is true. Is because you get when you go into entrepreneurship, you're so excited. You just push past this fear that we just talked about, and you just got to do it, and you got to do everything, and you got to be good at it. And I know there became a point where my partner was like, "Listen, you're doing the same thing that you were doing as an employee. You just now doing it as an entrepreneur, and that's not what it's about." And I like what you just said. Like you need to switch it to like you are the center of your life, not this job. What's one tip that you would give to someone like me who's or like my former self when I was just going to entrepreneurship, that's trying to figure out, okay, this can't be what entrepreneurship is really supposed to be like.
Oh, that's a really good one. I would say, and this was for me, this was true for me as well. It would be, how you invest everything in the business, energetically and financially. I would say make that shift and invest in yourself energetically
Ooh.
and financially. So the same way you show up for the business, flip it around and show up for yourself. That is so powerful. So
Yes.
powerful.
Yes. And I think people underestimate the power of having that mindset, and the success that can come from that. Because if when you switch it around and you're investing in yourself, then you're better able to show up for your business and do those things. What are you most proud of in your business and your career so far?
Oh, um, wow. I guess I would say being the first to do this work.
Ooh, okay.
Because I find
Yes.
that when choose to be entrepreneurs and when we have our unique vision, it's a synthesis of the skills that we have, our natural gifts, and then something that we've synthesized on our own, something new that we're creating that hasn't been done before. So I think in my case, this being a transformation coach, that's not something I would ever think to do. Like that's something when I hear the word coach, I think of white men executives, getting coaching to be executives, right?
Yeah.
So the completion and even doing this for me is a huge accomplishment because I would never have even imagined that I would be doing this.
And how exciting is it that I was just thinking about this the other day that this coaching program has come from you. Like it ain't nobody else's. No one else can replicate it because there's only one Rose. And so it came from your mind, your experience. Like I think that is like the interesting and exciting part of it.
I agree that you nailed it. It's something that you understand this. You had a thought about your business. You had a thought about your podcast, and now you made it into a real.
Crazy. And I like trips me out every day. Right? All right. Wait. Are you serious? We're really doing this, right? What's been I like to ask this question because I think on social media we always see everybody's really good days, whether they're a nurse, doctor, or coaches or whatever. And we don't show enough of the challenges. So what's been a challenge that you've had to face either, as the practice owner or doing the coaching, and how did you do that?
I think for me the challenge that comes the strongest is being a mom and an entrepreneur. Like you said, I'm not seeing anyone showing us what to do, how to balance this like a blueprint, something. It's just purely on the fly in the moment, trying to balance, parent teacher conference meeting, a school report, getting the homework done while working on some content or finishing up a summary I need to send to a client. Or responding to an email or a phone call, and then addressing my child who's who's sad about something or an argument between the kids, and then dinner, and then following up on an email. So that to me is still just an ever evolving thing that I've just surrendered to and just do my best. But that part is everything else I feel like, oh, I can do it. But this is the part that I'm like, I wonder a lot on those days, like, what am I doing?
Well, I think, that's what we have to do as women. And I'm glad you say you surrender to it, because what I was going to say to you is that I don't think there is a blueprint. Like we have to figure out what works best for us. And sometimes we do good and other days it's not that great. And we just have to give ourselves some grace the days that we don't do as good as the days we did. I had this issue yesterday when I was trying to do a podcast during bedtime. So I just had to be like, okay, I didn't get it all right today, but we're going to get it right tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Who has been your biggest supporter, mentor, role model in this journey that you've been going through?
I think there's two people who come to mind, and they weren't occupational therapists. One is my godmother, who I mentioned before. She's a pediatrician. Yes. she's just always been pouring into me, checking in on me personally and emotionally. And then I also have an older cousin who is a physician assistant, and she's been in my life. She's married to my cousin, but she's been in my life since I was a teenager. And again, it's just that constant pouring into me, even when I was scared, if I was worried, when I was trying to do something new, or even doing the entrepreneurial route. That pouring into from women, older women, was so, so valuable. So valuable, because a lot of times peers or colleagues may be scared, and so they don't have that insight or supportive advice that you need. Not that they're doing it intentionally, they just don't know. So it was always nice to have these other women pouring into me and supporting me. That really, truly is so valuable.
Yes, it is. It's amazing, like what we can do, what we can accomplish when we support each other. I think women are the bomb. I think we should rule the world. Like, I just need the men to step aside, because if they just let us have our time, right, things could just be a little bit better right now.
That part, I agree.
So what was the question? I was going to ask you, what is a misconception that you think people have about either being an occupational therapist or being a coach?
I'm going to start with the occupational therapy, because that one, most people don't even know, have not even heard that term.
Yes.
When they first hear it, they think it's a person who helps you find jobs. So they hear, oh, you're occupational therapist, you can help me find a job. No, I don't help people find jobs. What I do is I help people become independent in the job of living. We call it occupational therapy because the ability to live is to occupy yourself. You spend your day doing activities of daily living. All humans on the planet do the same thing. We take care of ourselves, we work, we go to school, we sleep, we rest, we engage in leisure. So those are the areas that we help a person in after they've had like an injury or a procedure or some life event that prevents them from being able to do those things independently. So that's the misconception with an occupational therapist. And then being a coach, I kind of hinted on it before, is, and even myself, when you hear the word coach, you hear a white male executive. You hear, right? That's what he gets to execute, to run businesses. But however, now in the year of 2022, we're understanding that we need to show up and be able to support each other in that same manner as well. So, that is why I even did this, was I wanted to be a coach specifically for women like us, specifically for women who want to be entrepreneurs. That's a totally different mindset than a white executive, and so specific. So those are the two misconceptions.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, because now I know what an occupational therapist is. But like in high school and things like that, definitely didn't know what that was. So y'all, if you're listening, don't come to Rose asking about getting a job. That is not what occupational therapist does. And then, with the coach thing, I think definitely prior to 2022, this idea of having an executive coach or investing in yourself like this wasn't something that was talked about, encouraged, but now it's more so, it's time for me to create this life I deserve, and I need to be able to, I have to invest in myself in order to get that. What is, before we wrap it up, what makes your transformational coaching program different than the other coaching programs that are out there?
I really appreciate this question. What makes my program different is the centering around being cycle breakers, the centering around being generational healers. So whether a woman realizes or not, that's what she's doing when she becomes an entrepreneur. And there are things that do need to come into place in order for that to happen. there needs to be a release of inherited beliefs that she got from her upbringing, from her personal experiences that limit her. That needs to be released. There needs to be a change in her nervous system because she has literally been conditioned and wired to overwork. That is something that that is in every Black woman's experience on this planet, not only because of our personal experiences, but as we know, because of the generational trauma that has incurred in us. That trauma has affected us on a genetic level. That's made us born to be predisposed to be more anxious, more alert, more right. So wired, wired for overwork. So getting her to recalibrate her nervous system, that is something that has to happen so that she can be aligned with balance, experience what does balance feel like. Because if we've been like for 20 or 30 or 40 years overworking, how are you supposed to know what balance is? You won't even know what that feels like.
It feels weird.
It feels very weird. And so when I offer that experience, that practice, that change in that nervous system to teach her what that feels like to have balance, to have rest, right? That needs to happen as well. And also this collectively, the additional part is to be her most self-expressed self. So we think we have conditions and expectations to meet, and we think that's what we're supposed to be doing in life. But our version of life, like you said, is to do what feels right for us, what fulfills us. And the only way you can do that is to show up as your fullest self. So my program works on a cognitive level, it works on a nervous system level, and it works on a generational level.
Ooh, like I'm sitting over here and I got chills when you were talking because it's powerful and it has to be done. I mean, what I have learned in this part of this journey of mine is that I can have all this knowledge and I've got great work experience and stuff, but it wasn't until I was able to shift my mindset and think differently about what I'm supposed to be doing that I have been able to come into my own. And I think what you said that makes your program different from my point of view is you talked about all these cycles and things that we have been inherently trained to do, to work, because we might not know where the food comes next, or might not know we're going to have a place to live. And so switching that mindset is so important. I love what you're doing. Tell people where they can find, how they follow you, how we support you. Let us know.
Absolutely. So you can, if you're interested in the coaching program, you can visit me at www.Rose-Stella, which is ROSESTELLA.com. And then if you're interested in the occupational therapy, if you're a parent with kids with special needs, you can visit me at Miss Rose's TheraPlace.com. MSROSESTERAPLACE.com. And I also have a workbook, a coaching workbook to help women who do not know how to even start self-care, just like dipping their toe. I created a workbook called the My Wellbeing Workbook. It's available on Amazon. And it's just an opportunity for her to work maybe like 10 or 15 minutes a day, have time for her to journal. It's got some prompts in it. It's got some questionnaires, a way to audit your time and your energy. How do you spend your time, and how to set goals for yourself, personal and professional goals.
I love it. You all, I'm going to put all of this information in the show notes so that you will know how to get connected to Rose. And again, thank you. this is what you're doing is so needed, because you're showing us or helping guiding us through breaking these generational curses so that we can build new versions of what legacy is supposed to look like. And that's what we're supposed to be out here doing. So I appreciate that.
Thank
you so much for being on the show. Thank y'all for listening to another episode where we get to amplify and spotlight another woman of color who is out here doing something special and giving back at the same time. We'll catch y'all another episode, another woman. Thank you.